India, law knows caste, it knows creed, it does knows. A woman is called the Jagat Janani. So a Jagat Janani can always, if she's not strong enough, she will not be able to handle the pressure, and she cannot be looked up to by anybody. Women suffer from a lot of stigma in this country.
Yeah.
Primarily, I think the Indian women suffer at the hands of men. So the awareness level is also very low. Coming to implementation of laws at the grassroots level, this is a very big challenge this country is facing. The kind of mindset Indian women have is not coming from an encouraged background, which is it still remains. She said that my husband has never slapped me, never pushed me, never touched me while in a violent way. But whatever he has been doing is all very silent, and it's a mental torture. For her, getting slapped by a husband or getting slapped by a father-in-law or mother-in-law for that instance is not a big deal, and she considers that as part of her life. She does not have that awareness that all this is not what marriage is about. Domestic Violence Act, like you said earlier, it's a lopsided law. It's a gender-biased law.
Freedom from violence is not a privilege granted to women, it is a legal right that has been guaranteed to them. Law does not merely punish abuse, it actually empowers women to live with justice, live with dignity, and live with safety. Welcome to episode 2. And today with us we have Advocate Meenakshi Salatia, who has a keen practice in law but a specialized practice in women rights. We are glad to have you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, today we'll be having a very, you could say, a very extensive talk about women rights.
Right.
But to go into the depth of women rights, my first basic question to you would be that you are accustomed with women clients on the day-to-day practice.
Right.
The first question would be, what are those basic agendas by which women come to you and they ask for legal help or legal assistance? What are those basic things through which women come to you for asking for legal assistance?
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for this talk interactive session. And yes, the primarily I think the Indian women suffer at the hands of men, because the issues I think which what my practice tells me is majority times it's matrimonial. They suffer at the hands of their husbands, their in-laws, their children at old age. So this is a very very sad picture. And even though we have very very strong laws in the country, we have one of the strongest constitutions in the world, the lengthiest and the strongest, I would say, because it is such a great statute. But the implementation is big. I think by far the biggest challenge that this country will face, and it is facing also. So majority of the times it's matrimonial issues that they come to me with. And as far as the second aspect is concerned, that is promotions and service background. But that is which is very a limit. I would say it's a limited scope, because women who are actually out of their houses and working, that's hardly a few in number. So the majority is suffering from matrimonial issues.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am, you were saying that majority are suffering from matrimonial issues. So when a woman first approaches you,
Yes.
I think every person is different. They have a different autonomy if we talk about it. So when a woman first approaches you, ma'am, do they have any emotional traumas along with while talking about their own personal issues? Is it difficult to open up to an advocate as well, or are they actually open in the first instance only?
Again, I would come back to the kind of economy and the background and the cultural heritage this country has. Women suffer from a lot of stigma in this country.
Yeah,
They
right.
have faced. They are one of the. They are called the weakest sex and one of the most discriminated classes in the society.
Yeah.
Being a woman born in India is a very unfortunate picture. But now I would say we are in the 21st century. A lot of scenario they have changed. Things have improved, and women are at times walking at par with men. But the practical picture of all of this is that they do suffer, and the suffering, as I told you earlier, it's majority. They don't have support. They don't have their husband support, they don't have their children supporting them, they don't have their superiors supporting them, or they would be facing harassment. So this is such a nicely it's such a cobweb for women to face in this country. It's a very deplorable picture. They are suffering so much that thinking about their careers and all of that is a very scared picture. So coming back to your question that are they scared? Yes, they are so scared of the stigma that they are facing or they will face, because ultimately going to a court of law is a big challenge. It actually scares
Right.
people. It would and opening up to me, I would say, especially when it comes to a woman, it's kind of a I would say a very comfortable space compared to I think my colleagues who are male, because this profession, as I said, is also male dominated. So yes, it's comfortable that they open up with me, but the kind of stigma they suffer, they are very very scared, and the kind of scare that they fear that they have in them is very very sad part of our Indian culture. Women are very scared to talk to me also. By the end of the day, I think that they are not that comfortable coming to
Mhm.
courts, enforcing their rights or talking about what rights do they have. So the awareness level is also very low.
Since we're talking about stigmas, I think we had a patriarchal society since a
Yes,
very, very long period of time. One of the major things that women have faced in this society, we could say it's domestic violence and harassment.
yes.
Is it in real life also, is it very difficult to open up about instances like these? And when they actually open up, is it a true story or is it something that could be manipulated at various stages?
Law is law doesn't know any cross caste, creed, or sex or race background, but I would say India suffers from this stigma as well.
Hmm.
In India, law knows caste, it
Hmm.
knows creed, it does know sex. But
Yeah.
then
Right.
there are, I think we depend upon our judiciary for this, for the protection of such rights. And coming from the background that I come from, my father was a big legend in the profession. My father, Mr. B.S. Lathia, has remained the epitome of all our kind of ideals in the profession,
Hmm.
be it justice to women, be it justice to the oppressed classes. He's been a he's a big stalwart in such background, I mean, things of background.
Hmm.
So he's been helping out people a lot. And I think we also, as a lawyer, I think I've inherited that. It is hereditary that it has come to me. Helping people who actually need justice has been the motto of my life. Recently, I shared earlier that I had been to a college where there are young minds who are trying and very eagerly wanting to listen to what I had to say, because I was the only female speaker in that college. So
Right.
that matters. So that's what I feel, that the representation, the kind of mindset Indian women have, is not coming from an encouraged background, which still remains a big challenge for our country. And the kind of stigma that we suffer does
Hmm.
not allow them or give them that platform to get open up or open to the challenges of life, come out of their houses and talk to people who are more informed. So that is something that we lack, and this is something we have to work upon as a society for good governance in a democracy, I think.
Ma'am, I think that law has a procedure, and that procedure actually exists if you get to know about it. As compared to the, do you think that there's this rural urban lag between people, that the people of urban areas are more advanced or have this more information about law as compared to the rural people? Do you think so?
Yes, because there's so much to be told to people.
Yeah.
The lack of awareness that we have, that's what I was hinting to earlier, that this thing is always lurking in my mind. I would say that this actually pains me at times that there are so many laws in this country.
Mm-hmm.
For example, even for a person who's living in an area, in a very far remote area of Tota, suffers from domestic violence. For her, getting slapped by a husband or getting slapped by a father-in-law or mother-in-law for that instance is not a big deal, and she considers that as part of her life.
Right.
She does not have that awareness that all this is not what marriage is about. All the support that she has to have from her parents-in-law is not all of this, but she doesn't have that understanding. because she doesn't have that education. So the kind of programs this government has, or the previous governments of our country have been having, is to educate women,
Right.
which is still an ideal to be achieved. So biggest hurdle would be education and no awareness for masses. In that aspect, I think a lot of people in our society, in NGOs, or so many people who are related to this justice system are trying to. In fact, we have a program called the Legal Aid
Mm-hmm.
for a part of the judicial system. So
Right.
they are working towards that, but still, a lot of hard work is yet to be put in.
And I feel that when a woman actually tries to raise her voice, there are a lot of institutional gaps that are there, from maybe from the side of the police, we could say, or majorly from the side of the family. Have you ever felt that the institutional level at the ground level is not very much strong, and that is why maybe law is not being implemented in that way? Do you feel
So
so?
yes, not in particular in this aspect that women are not being helped or the
Mm-hmm.
system is not reaching out to them. But yes, they don't have that awareness. And even the ones who have that awareness, it
Mm-hmm.
is not based on education. It is based on maybe legal awareness that I'm talking about. That is not limited to education. So
Mm-hmm.
even if they know about their rights, they don't know how to fight about their rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones who are trying to help them also may not be able to reach them. That's actually true.
Right.
Coming to implementation of laws at the grassroots level, this is a very big challenge this
Yeah.
country is facing. So this is something we all are trying as a system, and somehow it has been achieved, I would say, from the era of the independence in 1947 to 2026 going on. I mean, about to be set off. I mean, I think we've come a very long way, but there a lot is to be done, and that can be done only when like-minded get together, join hands, help each other to uplift actually the oppressed class of the society,
Mm-hmm.
which at the time I think it still remains the women who are facing the helm of affairs, who are being challenged by a male dominated society, and still there is a lot which is yet to be achieved. In fact, I would say the women who are encouraging their sons or daughters
Mm-hmm.
and raising them together as one, they are facing a very big challenge because they are going to be fighting the system. And for that, we need that change from the grassroots level. So coming back to the implementation to the grassroots level is actually being practically happening. I don't think so. And I think more
Right.
and more of awareness programs can help.
Ma'am, since we are here talking about domestic violence, and we are also talking about harassment, one of the legislations that come in my mind is Domestic Violence Act 2005, and I'm sure that you might be dealing with it on the everyday basis as well.
Right.
Ma'am, from the practic that legislation actually exists on paper, but from the practical point of view, could you elaborate that? Is it actually helpful to women? In the real go, is it actually helpful to women? And if so, then in what stratas is it actually helpful?
So yes, see, legislations by legislature are acted out, are there threadbare discussions happen, and so much goes into making into a law. And when such legislations, such bills come actually codified, they do aim at helping women.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these being Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act 2005.
Right,
In JNK, it started to get implemented in the year 2010-11,
right.
and yes, it does help. It does help a lot of people, a lot of people from an awareness background. But yes, the kind of question that you asked me, that is it actually helping? What strata of women is it helping?
Right.
So it is actually helping, I think, the more educated ones. The rural government, the rural population, the rural governance actually
Mm-hmm.
still remains a lot times unimplemented. There are so many women who are actually thinking this a way of life, being exploited, and the biggest scare I think they have is the economic dependence that they have on their families.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps even if they know about it, they will not do anything about that because they have that insecurity that once the financial once that financial aspect goes, who
Right.
is going to support me? Even if you have to engage a lawyer, or
Mm-hmm.
you have to ask somebody, or help take somebody's help, it all involves money.
Money.
So because of lack of funds, lack of independence economically, and this fear of stigma that we have, the stigma which is associated uh,
Mm-hmm.
with this profession, that in case you go to a court of law, it is going to stagnate and you are not going to get justice.
Yeah.
This is what
Right.
is prevalent, I think, and this is the thought process we have. and perhaps nobody is taking care of that aspect to educate such people. I mean, for that we need good lawyers, we need good people who help each other
Mm-hmm.
and prevent such kind of prejudice against this profession, and good thoughts to prevail, so that more helpers, the more people help each other, I think they can actually aim to be achieving a better society. And when women are not being helped, I
Mm.
think you spoil one house. And when the image or the confidence or that thing in a woman goes, the
Mm.
entire childhood, I mean, all the children that she's raising, the parents-in-law that she's helping, or the husband she's taking care of, it all goes. So I think the foundation in the society starts from a woman. A woman is
Mm.
called the Jagat Janani. So a
Mm.
Jagat Janani can always, if she's not strong enough, she will not be able to handle the pressure, and she cannot be looked up to by anybody. Even a husband has to look up to her wife, to
Right.
his wife. So this is something we really, I truly feel that this interactive session that we have in today will reach out to people like them,
Yeah.
and it will help them. And I think I aim that it helps them, and this is what my aim is also when I joined this profession. So it does come back to the reality aspect, which is, I mean, very grim. The the practical I mean, the practical output of this legislation is that people, only the ones who actually know good lawyers or they have awareness about this law, are using it. Otherwise, I think the majority still remains unaware. They have no idea as to why these cases are being filed. But these are called DV cases, and DV cases have a prejudice attached to them. The prejudice is that the woman who's only talking about going against her husband
Mm.
and her family is the one who's filing a DV case, which is
Mm-hmm.
not the true picture of this act.
Right.
The legislation aimed at protecting women while staying in their residential house,
Mm-hmm.
while maintaining their residence in the matrimonial house. So it does not aim to divorce you, but only provide you with financial dignity and respect in the matrimonial house. While you are being protected by law, you're also taking care of your family. So
Mm.
this law aims at bringing a family together. But the practical aspect and downfall of this act is that anyone who files a DV case is being taken as an outcast, and this woman is initially, I mean, she's looked down upon until she's filed a case, and then ultimately it leads to breaking up the family. So yes, this law is misinterpreted, and not well informed people are taking care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the strata which is using this law or trying to protect themselves for dignity, playing for their dignity,
Right.
is the informed one, educated one. Yeah.
While you were talking about the education part, I was reminded of a saying that when you educate a man, you educate a person, and when you educate a woman, you actually educate the whole society.
Yes, yes, that's what
So
it is.
that actually was really nice of you. But ma'am, you would also agree to this. While we were talking about domestic violence, one of these legislations that we're talking about, Domestic Violence Act 2005, this is very mainstream. Other than that, we are actually, and maybe the viewers as well, we are not actually aware of any other legislations that actually help women in their real go.
Right.
Can you help us with certain legislations apart from Domestic Violence Act 2005 that actually help women in the real world?
So see, there would not be any legislations which I would say per se are aimed at, but
Mm-hmm.
then there are different laws in which we
Mm-hmm.
have sections. Coming to the constitution first,
Mm-hmm.
we have laws of equality, we have laws which are protecting directive principles of state policy,
Yeah.
protect women,
Mm-hmm.
equal wages for equal work.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have protective discrimination under Article 16.
Okay.
14 is equality. Then we have other rights which say that right to education irrespective of the gender. So the constitution does not create a bias. It says that women and men are to be treated equally. This remains the constitutional aspect.
Right.
Then we have the guidelines of the Supreme Court of India, which
Mm-hmm.
says the Vishakha guidelines in the year
Mm-hmm.
19 since the year 1997 till date. There was just no concept of being at a, because there was no concept of an Indian woman working.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a household woman, a
Mm-hmm.
household name. But after that, after the Vishakha guidelines came out, this aspect of the society started to get highlighted, that there are women who are working and they are being harassed.
Mm-hmm.
So how this thought percolated for the Supreme Court of India, Honorable Court, to actually lay down guidelines so that women can work in a protected environment. So that guidelines also protect women who are working, then there cannot be any harassment. Then I would say there are laws related to dowry marriage, Dowry Prohibition Act. Then there are acts like Child Restraint Act.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are Evidence Act also protects them. Then there is an entire encyclopedia of the Indian Penal Code now called the BNS.
Yeah,
So Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. So that has also highlighted aspects where women are being harassed and how they are
mm-hmm.
to be protected. So I would never see that this country has any slew of a list of laws which are only women oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say there are laws which are lopsided. For example, Domestic Violence Act, like you said earlier, it's a lopsided law. It's a
Mm-hmm.
gender biased law.
Mm-hmm.
It does protect women, but does simultaneously not protect men who are also law.
Right.
So there are two sides of the same legislation, but as far as women are concerned, there are a very few laws, and the few laws are also still till date they remain unimplemented. So a right amount of education is required. So as I was saying earlier, uh, Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act is a gender biased act,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it does help women. Simultaneously, it is also a source of abuse for women.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, every law in this country is like that. It is being used and misused at the same time. So, I think right awareness in the right perspective by given by lawyers at the right time is what is going to help them.
All right, ma'am. Very well said. But as you said in the earlier stance as well, that legal awareness is what basically law is. If you're
Yes,
aware about it, then at that time law exists for you.
yes, yes.
Now, my basic question is, what steps could we take to enhance this legal awareness among the masses so that people are actually aware that law exists and what basically law is?
Himana, India suffers from population explosion. So
Mm-hmm.
there is so much to be done
Mm-hmm.
and so much less of funds, resources, that it cannot be a task that we can achieve like that. It has to be done in a particular fashion, a scheme, something which is to be done together.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, also, I pointed out that raising legal awareness in this country can be a very big challenge for the government which is working, which is in power right now, or for any good governance, I would say, for the reason that it is something which is to be achieved at the grassroots levels. Ultimately, people like a Kisan, from their families is what we rise, and from where we derive our, that the phase, the strength, and if that population or that strata of society is not educated and they don't know, educated I would not mean literally like for literacy,
Mm-hmm.
but for education purposes. For example, we have to educate them about their rights, and in that prospect I think legal camps, legal awareness camps,
Mm-hmm.
legal aid camps, symposiums, open mic debates, and some TED talks, sometimes a podcast like these,
Mm-hmm.
they can help to spread the message. That's how I think the technology or the media comes into play.
So, ma'am, before we conclude, I think the viewers would be curious about this as well. Is there, could you just narrate us some basic instance or some real life instance that you recently encountered
Right.
in which women was actually accustomed to such problems and then she got relief, something like that, which could be a real life story?
So yes, there was this one person, one lady who came to me.
Mm-hmm.
She was a gazetted officer. Her husband is also a gazetted officer, and they have two children after the marriage. So it was a very long marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps the domestic violence that she was going through was very lament for her.
Mm-hmm.
She could not understand what domestic violence is, but all she knew is that her husband is very dominating. He's an officer, and he was an officer before she became a gazetted officer. So
All right.
perhaps they have a very long history of adjustment and compromises.
Mm-hmm.
The husband was too dominating, and the girl was very shy, and she got married at a very young age of 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They have two children out of their lovely marriage, and the output, whatever compromises or sacrifices that she must have made all this while, they are not worth it as on date for today for
Mm-hmm.
her. She says that my husband has not only been torturing me mentally, Or what the surprising thing was, she said that my husband has never slapped me, never pushed me, never touched me while in a violent way. But whatever he has been doing is all very silent, and it's a mental torture. So I asked her, if the court asks you that what are the incidences of domestic violence that you've gone through,
Right.
how would you explain your domestic violence?
Mm-hmm.
So I could understand, being a working woman myself, that it is a very big challenge. And the definition of domestic violence changes from a strata to strata.
Mm-hmm.
For a poor person, domestic violence would actually mean violence and offenses and crime, which is
Mm-hmm.
hitting, slapping, kicking, throwing them on the floor, not giving them money or food,
Mm-hmm.
actually starving them, and making their life, like making them to live like a destitute. Hers was on the other side. A very surprising. This is what I think the society is suffering from. There's so much that a woman does for us, for a family. She's working. She's performing role of a working person. She's
Mm-hmm.
performing the role of a mother, a wife, a daughter-in-law, a sister-in-law, and yet she remains one of the worst persons to suffer.
Right.
And the silence that she has to compose only to defend her family was very, very saddening.
Mm-hmm.
So and the only thing that she was at that time, the point that she wanted me to focus or push for, was to meet her children. She had left them a month ago, and she told me that, ma'am, and she could not stop crying. So I said, what he could have done to you?
Mm-hmm.
She says it's all mental harassment. So something which is very saddening is that, again, that we have such strong laws, but women are still suffering. So the implementation is not. It says justice is not done when it's not seen to be done. So I think we still need to work very hard for actually working for the people who need justice. And a case like hers was very sad because it brought out a very dark reality of corporate sectors and the government sectors which are working, in which women are comfortably working, and it's they are not very comfortable. The support that they have should be encouraged, and I think these women should have a platform to represent, and the government should make an effort. They do have efforts. I mean, they've done effort. They've opened up grievance cells. They've opened up domestic violence helplines.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the
Right.
less people know, the more people know. It's like, so
So
that's the
the
harsh
law should
reality.
not be something that should just exist as a statute. It should be something that is actually
Working.
available to the masses.
Exactly.
It is something that should be implemented.
Yes, and I believe in the potential of this country, how it is working, the government and everything. I think they can do it, but then it's a very utopian idea to achieve.
Yeah, right. Since I think it's the time to say bye, ma'am,
Right.
but there's this one thing that I would actually want you to share with the viewers. What is that one last message, or one, you could say, a powerful line that you would like to give to the women out there who are actually viewing this particular podcast? What is that one powerful message that you would like to give to
I
the
think,
audience?
yes, the only message I want to convey is that I'm a lawyer who's there for help, and there are people like me who exist. So, the question which women usually ask me, because since we are only focusing on litigants who are women, they ask me, "Kya mujhe insaf milega?" So, yes, it will be your to take only when you start working or voicing your rights. It's very important to get out of that bad relationship in your life, that bad career in your life, and take a decision. In India, law knows caste, it
Mhm.
knows creed, it does knows. A woman is
Mm.
called the